Welcome to Toronto Speaks Addiction. I am your host, Dr. Vera Tarman. Tonight we're discussing food addiction. More than 2/3 of the population is overweight, with fully 1/3 actually obese. This means that a significant portion of our society is at risk for diabetes, heart disease, ADD, even Alzheimer's, just because of the toxic foods we are eating. The processed food industry has put a great deal of money into making their products attractive, even addictive. Chocolate, muffins, bread, even popcorn can be as compelling as tobacco or cocaine. If we eat too much of these, it is estimated that up to 40% of us can actually become food addicted. So is there something we can do about this? Is there a way to resist these fares so that we can enjoy food with peace of mind and still be a healthy weight? If you have struggled with your eating and want to know which foods are safe to eat, please join us tonight on Toronto Speaks Addiction. With over 2/3 of the Canadian population being either overweight or obese, a significant portion of our society is at risk for serious physical and mental disease. The food industry has put a great deal of effort into making their products addictive so that we don't stop when enough is enough. We're discovering that pizza, donuts, jujubes, all of these are as addictive as tobacco or cocaine and can actually make 40% of us food addicted, and will kill us with the same enormity as alcoholism or other abusive substances. So what can we do about this? Joining us tonight are two counselors in the food addiction field. They have worked with clients who have acknowledged their addictive eating. They are providing carefully designed food plans that guarantee sustained weight loss and leave a lasting peace of mind. Mike MacKinnon is a recovered food addict who lost over 70 pounds 13 years ago. He was so successful with his plan that he left his pastoral ministry and turned his focus to become a personal trainer in the field of food addiction. We will also hear from Tony Vassallo, who he was initially interested in helping obese men lose weight, but like Mike, he discovered that lasting success meant addressing the addiction of his clients to their favorite foods. I am happy to assure you that neither have a special diet or gimmick for sale. They are just avid about how to promote the best food plan for their clients. What they have to say is attainable for anyone who is willing to listen. So I'd like to thank both of you for coming on the show, and I understand that both of you have your own personal story which has led to your own mission about what to say to the public about this. So Mike, let's start with you. Tell us what your take on what food addiction is and what that's meant to you, and then how that led to what you're doing today.
Well, food addiction really, for me, was just about loss of control. Not being able to stop when I wanted to stop, not being able to control my eating. Sometimes it was an all-out binge, and sometimes it was just one piece of cake too much or one donut too much, but I was always eating stuff and then saying to myself afterwards, why did I do that? And the pants weren't fitting, and they were getting tighter and more frustrated, and the scale wasn't saying what I wanted it to. And it was always in this battle of obsessing over food, eating, not eating, and getting on the scale and checking my weight and not. And it was crazy. It was just crazy making behavior. And then, you know, I started to work with people in the field of weight loss, and I had not yet addressed my food addiction at that point, but realized that my food addiction looked an awful lot like an alcoholic's drinking. Okay. And then I had to reach out. I actually Googled and said, are there 12-step programs for food addiction? And lo and behold, there was tons of them out there. So I started reaching out for help, asking the right people. You know, I came across you, and
okay, so you let's just get back to backtrack a little bit. Yep. So you were somebody who was working in the fitness industry.
Yep, absolutely.
And you had your own issues around food. So how did you actually stumble on the idea that, oh, this is an addiction? I mean, that wasn't me. That was before, I'm sure.
So it was like 2003 was really when I lost my weight. And from 2003 to about 2005, I white-knuckled it, right? I'd lost my weight, and I lost my weight with a group in Toronto, and when I was told that I was at my goal weight, I went straight to my favorite fast food joint and got into the food again. And that began a pattern of gaining and losing and gaining and losing, and I was using exercise as a purge tool.
Or as a way to keep the weight down.
Absolutely. It wasn't for what it was supposed to be used. It was just to manage the weight. Had a high metabolism. I was okay going to the gym for 3 hours a night. But eventually I started losing that battle because I started eating more and more and more.
Right.
And that's when I finally had to say, there's something really wrong here. This is not normal to be obsessing like this. And use, they didn't have apps back then, but I had a computer program that I would load my food in, my exercise, and there's a negative balance, and I have to get back to the gym, and it was crazy.
I mean, 3 hours a day is pretty excessive, and then you're...
Sometimes more. Sometimes it was 3 hours of cardio and then an hour of weight. I would do 3 different cardio machines and weightlifting, and then eventually the day came where it didn't matter how much I did. I was starting to lose the battle.
In other words, you were starting to regain your weight.
Right. And I was a personal trainer at this point.
Yes.
This is really bad for the resume. You
Yeah,
know?
right, that's right.
I realized that something had to be done.
Okay,
So.
and so then you found out what had to be done by looking online,
Yep.
and then you found, I guess you found some 12-step information.
Yep, found the resources I needed.
Okay, okay, and I'm going to ask you about the actual diet and what you did in a little while, but so Tony, do you want to take it from there? What's your story?
Sure. For me, I think I came to the realization of food addiction a few years into my weight loss. So maybe just to backtrack a little bit, in 2010, I was over 300 pounds, morbidly obese.
And what are you now, just so we can do the comparison?
My set point range right now is somewhere between about 172 to 185.
So we're talking more than 100 pounds.
Yeah, I was morbidly obese. I had a 50-inch waist, and ironically, it was going from 48 to 50. That was a threshold that just, I guess it was just going from 40 to 50. And just said something wrong here. But in addition to being morbidly obese and 300 pounds, I was very sick. I had type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, sleep apnea, gout, acid reflux.
You had all those conditions that I listed.
The cocktail, if you will. And my diabetes was getting to the point where I was probably going to need insulin. The toes were starting to get a little discolored. But ironically, it was none of the health stuff that made me see the light. It was that pair of pants. And it was like, okay, I need to lose weight. And I joined the support system, and I found the support very helpful, but I sought out the nutritional information. And I abstained from sugars and what I call my kryptonites, the man foods, the wings, the ribs, the chicken wings, you name it. And it was more of a, looking back, kind of a Cal Ripken streak. I just wanted to stay away from the stuff. I was introduced to the notion of food addiction, but what drove me was the fact that if I stayed away from this, I would have more success and it would happen quicker. And even as I got to my set point, it's like, no, I want to keep going this way. And a few years into my maintenance, I had some personal struggles, stage in life where everything's just going wrong.
Yeah.
And I found myself at a buffet. I had one Nanaimo bar, and next thing I know, I think I stopped count at around 16. And the only reason I stopped is there was no more there. But it was this feeling that I had, like, what's going on? I wanted to stop, and the right hand would pull back, and the left hand would take over, and I just couldn't. It was very embarrassing. I actually didn't even go to the table. I was going postal right there. But what was really interesting was how I felt that day, and weeks later. It was just a constant craving.
After that?
After. It was almost like something was taking over. And I intuitively knew this was wrong. I didn't have any serious binges, but I'd have one or two or a little, but there was always, no, I want some more and want some more.
And what you're describing is what you call white knuckling. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, that craving, that constant feeling
craving.
of I want.
Now, did you regain that weight that you had lost?
Well, this is what was interesting, and I was concerned, and I was weighing myself, and to be totally honest, I wasn't gaining weight. And there was part of me saying, well, I'm not gaining weight, who cares? But intuitively, I knew that there was something wrong. Again, I was introduced to the concept of food addiction. I didn't totally buy in.
Yes.
But what I wasn't comfortable with, it was the constant craving. It was almost like somebody else had taken me over.
It's the song, Constant Craving, but that's somebody else taking over. That's the addiction, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, definition of addiction, there you go, it's right there. So then, did you get one over eventually? Yeah,
so basically I had to go through what I think was more like a second withdrawal, which was nothing like the withdrawal that I went through the very first time when I lost my weight. And I think that was the exact same time your book came out, and there was the article in the Star, and I was reading your book, and it really solidified what I already knew. And intuitively, no, there's just, you know, your instinct is saying there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
But then it was part of me stepping on the scales. Well, you know, it's not really changing, which is really unique. But I stuck with it, and I think it was a few months of white knuckling. But eventually, I was in that zone again.
The cravings left you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Mike, would you say that the same experience for you?
Yeah, you just have to stay away from it for a time, and that's different for different people. I mean, you know, standard detox, 4 days, 96 hours. Oftentimes, people feel a lot better after that.
Yeah.
Then the next 2-3 weeks are about getting over the mental.
Yes.
The I'm used to this. It's like the smoker is used to the cigarette and the coffee in the morning.
So how long did you say that was?
Maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah,
you know.
that's okay. That's my experience too.
If I can get people through that initial 3 weeks, it gets a lot easier rapidly.
Now, both of you have taken your stories and you've made it your own business. So, Mike, what is it that you actually do? So, a guy comes, they want to work out, and then how do you bring in this piece?
So, at the very beginning, I screen for food addiction. So I use the abbreviated Yale Food Addiction Scale. If they don't test positive for food addiction, I do a couple of inventories that test for anxiety and depression to see if there may be emotional eaters. And if they don't test positive for that, then I just give them a food plan and some exercise.
And that's just the guy who's coming in for a workout, or he's coming in for the food issue?
Usually people who come to me are for the food issue. They're people who are 35 and older who have tried everything and they can't lose weight. That's really who I'm targeting, because that's my own story, right? The guy who tried everything and at 36 finally had to throw in the towel.
And are you suggesting a food plan?
Absolutely. Yeah, right off the bat.
Do you want to elaborate a bit?
So if they test positive for food addiction, and I never tell people what to do, because we're all educated and I don't want to be like a taskmaster, but I suggest that what I've seen works is a food plan that's abstinent of any product containing wheat, a flour of any kind, and so I want to be specific about that. I say no flour, I mean no rice flour, I mean no almond flour, I mean no flour of any kind, and any processed sugar. So no wheat, no flour, no sugar, if they test positive for food addiction, which of course for many is just downright traumatic, because that's all the stuff they love.
That's the stuff that they eat. That's your kryptonite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And so you have to go through that withdrawal period, you know, that 4 days and then the 3 weeks, and then it gets rapidly better if they can if they can do it, if they get the support they need, and I try and provide them with that. Plus I suggest outside groups that they can go to, and you know, Tony's group is one of the groups that I suggest, because there's great support there.
So I'm going to ask you about your success with that, but Tony, you tell me what you do. So who comes to see you? Because you've also made this life story, this mission of yours, into a job, into a career. So
for me, I mean, what I'd realized is prior to losing weight, when I was overweight, I always had the mindset, you know, for me to lose weight, to be successful, it was all about starving myself and excessive exercise. One of the main core messages I got from this was, no, it's far from it. You don't have to starve yourself, and you don't need excessive exercise. You can actually, and I was always a culinary guy, and I turned that... you
can actually eat, you said.
Yeah, I literally ate my way to a healthy weight by eating healthy foods.
That's a great phrase.
So I took that unhealthy foodie that I was into to a healthy foodie, a culinary nutritionalist. I started volunteering in an organization, and I was giving back, and I loved it. I was really enjoying helping other people. I came to the realization that the career in technology that I was doing, it wasn't working anymore. I wanted to change. I wanted to do something that I really woke up in the morning and I just wanted to do it. So I started volunteering, and things were going great, and then I became part-time. I ended up getting heavily involved in the organization, designing content, and pretty much managing the organization. And
to help obese men lose weight.
Yes, and I did that for a few years, and I loved it. And then I came to a point where I wanted to do things differently and do things my way. And I launched Moda Nutrition a couple of years ago. And Moda, I basically developed...
and Moda stands for?
Moda, well, in all honesty, it was a made-up word, and now it's moved into motivational weight loss. And I put together a program that I feel is the most sustainable and realistic way to lose weight and keep it off Plus, I've combined it with the power of a group. Weight loss is contagious. Weight gain is also contagious. So through my culinary expertise and my passion to do this, plus the power of a group, I feel I've put together the perfect formula to help people lose weight.
Yeah. Okay. And you've written a book.
Yes.
What's the title of your book?
Yeah, I forgot about the book. So I wrote a cookbook, Weight Loss Never Tasted So Good. It's available on Amazon, and everything in the cookbook is everything that I ate while I lost my weight. What I did was, as I was preparing meals, I'd always just take a pic with the thinking of, I might forget what I actually ate. And then I just got back to it. I put the recipes together, and lo and behold, the book.
Now, you know, for the viewers, I want you to know that I picked these two guys because, I mean, they're talking about their programs, and it's not like this, their programs are real food, and it's really just them standing behind it saying, this worked for me, and here's how you can do it, because it's not easy to do on your own. But there's no gimmick here, there's no fancy food, there's no thing that you have to buy. This is just you going to the grocery store and figuring out how to shop properly. So so you've got your own particular ways, which include no sugar, no flour, and do you have anything else, or is that basically it?
Well, mine, I mean, honestly, in a word, it's this. It's eat real food in controlled portions at proper intervals. And there's three key components to that. The real food is what to eat. Real food. Basically eat like our parents did and our grandparents did in controlled portions. That's how much. And then the third piece to that is the intervals, and it's the timing. And quite frankly, the two that I focus on in the beginning is the type of food and the timing.
Okay, so now success. You've got a program which it sounds like it's pretty much similar to that, and you've got a book too, don't you? Or
I'm in the process of writing one. Yeah.
So what has been the success of this? So clearly, it's been successful for you two. Has it been successful for your clients? And where are the drawbacks?
There's the thing. It's successful when they buy in, because I have the tools as a coach. You know, what Tony does really well that I don't necessarily do as well, for sure, is he's got the nutrition component down pat. He's got the cookbook and everything. I know a little bit about nutrition.
He knows how to make it taste great.
And he also knows how to put it together in just the right quantities to make a nutritious meal. That's not my expertise. My expertise is training people, but also motivating, right?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep them on track, and I'm trying to, you know, I'm really glad I met Tony, because he has a tool that I've been missing, which is that group support that I can also filter my people towards, right? The key is, if a person's bought in, and if they follow it, then it works 100%.
Right.
You know, if they can get through the withdrawal, and they can stay motivated. And I offer myself, one of the things I do that I don't know any other trainer does is I say, you got access to me from 8 in the morning till 7 at night, text, phone, email, every day except Wednesday, because it's my day off. Don't bug me on my day off. But other than that, you can call, you can email, you can text, because I want to help you if you're staring down a donut and you're losing, you know?
Yeah.
So if they can get the support they need, then they do succeed. And I do have some success stories like that. I think any trainer who's honest about their rate of success, it's not very high. It really isn't, because it's getting the people bought in.
Well, a lot of times it's because they're just doing the exercise piece.
Right. And the problem is they're also misdiagnosed. Remember, 3 categories: food addict, emotional eater, normal eater, right? Phil Riddell's categories, right? Most of the diet industry slots them in as a normal eater, and they say, here's your exercise and here's your food plan, when you've got someone who's a food addict over there, right?
And we're missing them.
And that's totally going to miss them.
Yeah.
So,
now, Tony, what about you? What's your success, and where's the thing that people fail on?
Well, just for me to add to Michael there,
please do.
The buying in, it's key. And in the addiction paradigm, we use the word surrendering. It's just accepting that change is needed.
Change is needed.
If I were to kind of bring it and simplify it, it's accepting that I can't keep doing this anymore. And quite frankly, I have to tell you, when I first started this journey in early 2010, I wasn't totally bought in. I knew I needed to make change. Yeah. And quite frankly, it was like I was well over 300, and I figured if I can get to 250, just lose 50 pounds. That is it. And I got bought in as I went. I'm a big fan of I've used this baby steps, and I just kept making incremental changes as time went on.
Yeah.
In terms of success, in fact, just this week I had one of my members sent me an email. He's in his 70s. He's been on medication for some time. He went to his doctor. Blood test came out clean. He's no longer on any medication. And stuff like this, it's so inspiring.
Yeah. And you too, you're not on your meds anymore. You said you were diabetic, you had high cholesterol.
You name it. I mean, within, ironically, and back to the same point, within about 6 months of, I guess I probably would have been about 50 pounds, give or take. Most of my meds were cut in half. And the thing that that stood out more than anything was my quality of sleep. I had sleep apnea. I refused to wear the machine.
I see.
I think of the sleep apnea machine as a Darth Vader mask. I wasn't going to go there.
You weren't going to go there, yeah.
And what I intuitively remember is waking up one morning, thinking I slept in, and I didn't. And what I remember is looking at my bed sheets, and they were still intact, because I would do so much tossing and turning.
Yeah. Tony, I know you're doing a documentary on. Do you want to say a couple of words about that?
So, first of all, yes, I've been blessed and privileged to have an opportunity to produce a documentary. I feel this documentary will rock the weight loss world in terms of how we look at sustained weight loss. The intent is, I think we're overcomplicating things, and everyone in this documentary, the intention is to have it released in this year, 2017. I don't want to release too much, but it's a documentary on long-term weight loss.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that. Mike, is there anything that you want to add that you want to make sure the audience gets about your program or about yourself or just about food addiction recovery?
Yeah, the biggest component, and this ties into getting people bought in, I think is, and I learned this about 5 years in when I realized I was losing people halfway through. They would leave, and then no matter how much I called or emailed, they wouldn't call me back. And I suddenly realized that these people were actually grieving the loss of something that was very important to them. So they were going through all the stages that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross identified in the grief process, you know, denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, acceptance, because I'd taken their best friend away. Not necessarily, I mean, some of them weren't food addicts, so you don't take their best friend away fully, but it's like you can only visit your friend at select times, and it's very frustrating, especially at the anger stage. And of course, when people come from an environment where they don't know how to process anger, when anger happens, they have to get rid of it. You know, and if they don't have a healthy coping tool for getting rid of it, or a set of healthy coping tools.
And so they're used to using food.
Exactly,
as that. Yes.
That's the biggest one,
Yes.
right? So first is giving them the information, saying, you will be angry, and this is normal. It's okay, don't worry about it. Call me when you are.
Yeah.
And then showing them how to process the anger. I find that helps them be bought in, because they realize that there's nothing necessarily wrong, that this is part of the process.
So it sounds to me like for you, the key thing is the buy-in.
Yes.
You've got to do the buy-in.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the addiction world, well, you called it surrender. It's step one. It's admitted that I'm powerless over this, or whatever terminology we would use in the addiction medical realm. It's all about, the buy-in, because the plan that you're going to do will initially sound, well, you without your kryptonite. Yeah, impossible. But in fact, it's not impossible. Anyway, tell is there anything that you want to say, Tony, that you want to make sure?
Sure, and it actually goes along the same lines of what we're talking about. I mean, there were two core. I mean, I learned a great deal over the journey, I think, and from what I've seen, my own journey in those lose weight, and you rediscover yourself. But the two core things that I learned, one I've already talked about, it's eating real food, the diet, if you will. But the second is I had to change my relationship with food, and my thinking was there are no solutions inside a refrigerator. And I finally learned that. I mean, no matter what's going on, and I asked my clients this. I mean, when they're telling me about what's going on in their life. I mean, we all have stress unless you're dead. But there's nothing inside your refrigerator that's going to solve any money problems, any relationship issues, any illnesses that are going on. And I came to that conclusion that no food is going to solve any one of my problems. And when I changed my relationship with my food, that's when I totally bought in to what we teach and preach.
That's great. Now, we actually have a couple more minutes to talk about. I'd like to know, what does recovery feel like for you, Mike?
Oh, I mean, it's freedom. It's absolute freedom. I don't have to get on the scale. only time I get on the scale, I'm thinking about doing a bodybuilding competition, so I want to put on more muscles. Is it working? Am I putting on weight? That's the question. Am I putting on weight? I should be putting on weight. That's a different obsession than I used to have,
And are you missing the donuts?
Not a bit.
What about Christmas time?
No, I mean, I don't think about it.
No more eggnog?
No, I haven't, you know, it's been so long that, you know, it just doesn't come to mind. Of course, it came to mind a ton when I first started.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about.
Yeah.
And that's the stage, the withdrawal stage that I had to get through. When I got on the other side of it, now it's like I always have the same size pants. They don't get tight, they don't get loose, and I don't think about it. And I know that as long as I stay away from those 3 substances I mentioned, wheat, flour, sugar,
yes,
I'll be fine.
Yes.
I can't guarantee anything if I go back to them.
Okay. Okay, good. And you, Tony,
In
what does
terms-
recovery look like for
Well,
you?
for me, I mean, I'm
and
alive.
for your clients?
And I mean, quite frankly, I mean, I was 37, 300 pounds. But you and I both know, all 3 of us know that weight gain is exponential. I mean, we all love to put a line in the sand and say never. But what would it be? 350 pounds. My toes were discoloring. What's next? I mean, knowing what I know now about diabetes, you know, maybe I have a leg amputated. So when it comes to Christmas, you know, and the pies there, whatever. I mean, the cravings aren't even there anymore. They haven't been there for years. But it saved my life.
How do you deal with the pressures? Christmas time. Hey, Tony, it's Christmas. Have some cake that I made you.
Well, one is I need to be in control of my environment, and quite frankly, I think because of my culinary experience, it's given me a benefit. And if there's an occasion, I have a roasted apple that's in the cookbook, a roasted apple dish. And in fact, the last Super Bowl we were at, there was about 60 guys, and I made 2 massive batches of these roasted apples, and that was the first dessert to go.
Okay, very good. That was the first dessert to go. And what about you? How do you manage the Christmas and those kinds of, basically, pure pressure?
You know, for the most part, you know, being a personal trainer, you get certain status, and that status is, oh, Mike doesn't eat that stuff. So most of the people who know me, they just assume, you know, because he's a trainer, he probably doesn't eat that stuff. It doesn't happen very often. When it does, I just say, I'm okay just saying no.
Yeah.
And nobody ever really has gotten belligerent with me about it.
Yeah.
So it's not really a big problem. Most people just expect it of me because of my job.
That's great. And you probably choose friends that are more supportive, and that's the support group.
Absolutely.
You know what? I want to thank you so much, you guys. That's all the time we have today. Thank you, viewers at home, and thank you, Mike MacKinnon and Tony Vassallo, for helping us understand some of the issues of food addiction and the possibility of recovery. For those of you who struggle with weight or food, please hear us. There is hope. It is possible to maintain a healthy weight and be serene around your food. Freedom from food cravings, depression, and poor physical health is possible. This kind of freedom tastes great. The power is ours. I'm your host, Dr. Vera Tarman, and thanks for watching Toronto Speaks Addiction.